Hello! How are we all doing? Busy old week. That's because it was short, isn't it, Mike? Yeah, because Tuesday came. Love Monday. Tuesday came and I thought, oh, it's Monday, only it wasn't. So who have we got in the chat? Hello, Renee.
You're live.
Hey! It's all working. Hello, Carol. Hello, Mrs. Yarnold. And Simon's with us. Oh, his channel chops haven't arrived. But when they do, Simon, when they do. And Kim is in the house. Hello, Kim. Hello, Jonathan. Who else have we got? Peter and Paul are with us. Excellent. And Deb. Have we got a full complement of Debs?
No.
Oh, and we've got a Raptus there. Hello. Good to have you with us. Who else have we got? I think I've got everybody at that stage, have I? I'm sure I saw another Deb. I'm hallucinating Debs now. Never mind. At least I'm live. Wonders will never cease. Wonders will never cease. It's not been a good day, internet-wise, has it, Mike?
No.
No, Mike had to deliver a webinar using... This is how bad it's been. But that company that put that poll up outside, we're seriously contemplating them, aren't they? Because, it's quite close. Yeah. Fractionally slower than what we've got now, because is it one whatever it is, and this is 900. But the upload speed is 20 times faster, so we're tempted. Not to mention the fact it's a third of the price.
I think it is. Isn't it?
But luckily, we're that far out of contract, we might get a bit of a crossover. So that's where we're up to on that. Right, let's. Did somebody say hello to Nick? Hello, Nick. Oh, I've missed Nick. Hello, Nick. Right, let's everything moving on the slide front. Oh, it looks like it is moving on the slide front. So let me final check. Moving on the slide front. Awesome. Because I don't know if you've noticed, Mike, what on earth's going on now? Oh, I've got weirdness happening already. Do you know, it's a good job I can move this with nobody seeing anything. Yes, I've installed a beta of PowerPoint. Yeah, what they done to the search? It's moved. It's not good. Move things. It upsets me. Right, we've got a lot, as you can see. We have a graphic design toolbox. Jammy's not with us, and I was so intent on separating Jammy from his money, because I was going to tempt him with this design toolbox. But never mind, I'll tempt the rest of you instead. Then we're going to follow that up with some freebies, new freebies from TechSmith. And what they give with one hand, they take away with the other. So we'll talk about maintenance. Then I've got Whimsical. Let me know in the chat if you've heard of Whimsical. I have freebies. There's 10 of them, so you won't want to miss that. Then Mike's following up with the second part of his Premier League dashboard thing. Then the answer to the question that we posed last week. Can AI write Dataview queries for you for Obsidian? And we have the answer to that. I'm not saying any more. We got the answer to that. Then in Obsidian, we have two things. We have advanced Dataview queries, because we were working on mocks, if you remember, maps of content. But then I just have to share the automating callouts, which I only discovered yesterday. It's amazing. It looks complicated, but trust me, it's going to change your Obsidian world. So let's just leave that at that. Oh, poor Peter, 480p. It's one of those, is it? Congratulations, Patience, who has passed first of 4 professional exams needed to graduate with her masters. Excellent. That reminds me of Microsoft exams. What were they like?
Hard. Yes.
It was like I would have a wall and you would scratch a 1 on it, because I think you needed, was it 9 to be a certified systems engineer with I? Yeah, so when I got 1, it was like 1. Okay, so many more to go. So congratulations. Right, okay. We are broadcasting in 1080p, irrespective of what YouTube has done to you. Make sure you're watching in 1080p. So there is a cog in the lower right-hand corner. It is close by to the like button, so you could hit both at the same time. And with that, we'll get on with it. So we're winding back to last Saturday, which was the back end of April. And you'd gone for Asda, hadn't you?
I'd gone
and
for
this
Asda.
Was all to do with us, as I recall it.
It was.
Tesco
Banana Gate.
No, hang on, what's going on there? Tesco had no bananas. Lola, however, so Asda did have bananas, but Lola put in an order for large dentist sticks. I really need to move that, don't I? Which is doing nobody any good there. So let's move that over the way. Right, that's what Lola ordered. You know what's coming next, don't you? Not what Lola got. No. Eventually this will move, won't you? Why are you not moving? Oh, we're all on tenterhooks to see what Lola got. And you're not moving. There we go. She got medium dentist sticks. She's not a happy dog. Because then, mind you, she does quite nicely out of that if she thinks about it carefully. Because if she got one large dentist stick, that's less than 2 medium dentist sticks, and she creates such an almighty fuss. Well, I'll give you an idea of the level of fuss that the lady creates. Mike gave her steak off his plate tonight to keep her quiet. Didn't you?
I did.
Oh, she inhaled it. She loved it. On to Sunday. My keyboard's not working now, but we will move on. Oh, yes, it was a match. Got to be careful with matches, though, haven't you? Yeah, they're a lot on a Sunday now, not because they're on the TV. Oh, no, these are moved because we've got matches on other days, which meant we were back to the wireless to watch the thing. Well, not even watch it. In fact, we couldn't even hear it, could we? We tried all the local radio stations, nothing. Mike ended up with it on an internet channel on his phone. So we did actually manage to hear something, but it was worth it, wasn't it, Mike?
I can't remember.
Oh, come on. It was Aston Villa.
We won, yeah.
I said it wasn't the most impressive of games, and you said it didn't matter because we won.
That's true.
So he was a happy boy at that point. Happy boy. Although I thought they could have put more effort into it, but that was just me. Oh, Monday was a grand day. 1st of May, which meant bank holiday in the UK. Oh, the first of 3 this month. Needless to say, bank holiday plus just means it rained. And when I say rained, it really rained. Lola was disgusted, wasn't she? Didn't she go out for about 10 minutes and then dragged you back in?
I think she did.
Yeah, Dad, it's raining. Let's go back. This is what she's like. Mayor didn't want to go out in the rain, did he? But once he was out, he didn't want to come back. So this all meant, of course, by Tuesday, that I had 5 days of work in 4, and I thought it was Monday all day. That's the problem with bank holidays. Tuesday feels like Monday, only worse because you're behind before you've even started. And to add insult to injury, after 3 days of rain, you know what happened, don't you? Yeah. Sun came out. It's been boiling all week. Got the fan on. I'm disgusted. Anyway, that took us to Wednesday. Oh, yes, Wednesday. That was an interesting day. We used to run a local user group. In fact, we had 2, didn't we? We had one for our trainers group and we had an Adobe user group. And we used to go to a pub that's not too far from us, about half a mile up the road. It's since closed down, which was just as well, because the catastrophe of the week locally was there was a fire in the hotel. Now, the hotel's actually behind the pub. But that's where we used to have our meetings. Luckily, as it's already closed, no injuries. So just the fire brigade out to sort it out. Have they boarded everything up again? Because I'm sure it was boarded up to start with. They're threatening to build more houses, like we need more houses. But yes, that was the local calamity. My personal calamity. Oh, my adventures with Royal Mail continued apace. You'll notice that your package cannot be found. Unknown. Can't be found. Check the tracking number again. It might appear. No, it's not appeared yet. But, we all live in hope that one day it might. Thursday. Oh, important day, Thursday. It's May the 4th, which means it was Star Wars Day. So I thought I'd take you back in time to the autumn of 2019, which was probably the last time we went out, wasn't it?
True.
Yeah, we went to a ball, but it was a fancy dress ball. So, believe it or not, Mike and I are in that photo. Mike was the stormtrooper at the front. I was Darth Vader at the back. Mike is actually looking at the camera, but what he didn't realise was his head was on sideways. The things I have to deal with. So, I've got you a bonus where he's actually looking at the camera. What a night that was. Do you remember where that was, Mike? Local golf club. I thought I'd share that again as well. It was never without issue when we went to an event at the local golf club. This is a photo, brace yourselves, of the white wine sauce. Looked orange to us as well. In fact, it looked like thick tomato soup. It tasted like thick tomato soup. We concluded it was indeed tomato soup. And what the rest of what I left at the top is, I've no idea. Have you any idea what that is?
I was just going to ask you that.
I've no idea. It doesn't look like meat.
It looks like fish.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been that because it was chicken in white wine sauce. But it doesn't look like chicken either. Mind you, the white wine sauce doesn't look like white wine sauce, does it? So no, I can't remember what that was, but I didn't fancy eating it. So there's a quick blast from the past. 4th of May was also polling day, which means Lola had to head out to have her official... Is it annual? It's not, is it? It just feels it. We've had that many general elections. I think it's every 2 years. Her official dogs at polling stations photo. She wasn't actually over impressed, was she?
No.
So Mike had a devil of a job trying to get a photo of her. She just wanted to go on her walk. If you're thinking it's cruel to take the dog to a polling station, because we weren't voting, we've got postal votes. Not going into polling station, too peoply. If you think that was cruel, no, it's not, because our polling station is in the local park. So she was there anyway. It did take a couple of treats to get her in there, but she remains convinced she could do a better job than any of those standing. And to be honest, who can argue with that? So Thursday, busy old day. Because the next thing was, there was another match. Again, that should have been Wednesday. That one was on the TV though, wasn't it?
That was on the TV.
Yes, but unfortunately, spoiler alert, don't mention the match. Mike predicted this. He's becoming a mystic, Meg, He predicted it because it was Brighton that we were playing. Now, if you're not from these shores, you may already have forgotten that we played Brighton 2 weeks ago in the FA Cup semi-final, and we won on penalties, no less. Didn't turn out so well this time on penalties, did it, Mike?
No.
They staggered to 90 minutes. 0-0. I don't even think you were still confident you'd lose, weren't you? Well, if you look at that, 90 minutes plus 9 minutes injury time. United only play 95, obviously. So it got to 9 minutes into injury time and they got a penalty. And judging by how they played at Wembley with their penalties, it was unlikely they'd miss, and they didn't. I didn't realise until I looked at these stats, Mike, that they were all over us, really, weren't they? They had more shots on target, more possession, more passes. Yeah, we had more fouls, though, but that's not the point. So don't mention the match, he's still smarting. While that was happening, I was having a coaching call. Well, actually, just after that, there was a coaching call. That was really interesting. Carol, were you there? Because it was an interesting one, that. Not something I was familiar with. So we might see that might lead somewhere, but who knows? So today, that takes us through to Friday. Been a bit busy because it's been a short week, and with the coronation tomorrow, yawns. We've got another bank holiday. So more important than the coronation, more important than the bank holiday, was the special announcement announced last week that I'm re-announcing this week, which was, while everybody else is thinking about the coronation, we're going the other way. We had an idea that it would be a grand idea to have a meet-up. So Monday, the 8th at 7 p.m, you will not want to miss this. It's going to be so much better than the coronation. It is no less marooned at MacBites headquarters, the coronation special. The coronation will be mentioned for no more than 2 seconds. And it might not even get 2 seconds of coverage, just saying. But it's going to be a magic MacBites marooned. And it's all happening at MacBites FM. So let me know in the chat if you're going to join us. Oh, Carol's at a work meeting and missed it. It was pretty good, but I think it depended. It was all about Substack. So I didn't know much about Substack. So it was good to hear an hour about it from a creator's perspective. But I left like most of the time with a coaching call, or particularly a captain's table call, you leave completely energised and you can't leave it alone. I did go and have a look, but I'm at the stage of still pondering whether that's something that would be a wise idea or not. But worth a watch. I think the replay's just come out, so it's worth a watch, Carol. Right. Cash. All in good cause. Right, the graphic design toolbox. I frequent a site which is called Humble, the Humble Bundle, and they generate money for charities, and they do that by selling bundles of books, software, games, you name it. Their latest one is the graphic design toolbox, and it's for Adobe stuff and more. The more is the first one that I put in the top left, up and running with Affinity Designer. But there's also books there for Photoshop and Canva and Procreate, you name it. The entire bundle, and Lightroom and Inkscape. So these were the things I thought you might use. I figured you probably wouldn't use After Effects or Illustrator. But there is enough books there to make it worthwhile of a purchase, or at least going to have a look at it. I think the link is in there, Mike. It's £14 and a few pence, and there are 15 books. So I went for it, and I already had 2 of the books, but I went for it anyway. So if you want to go for it, Mike will put the link in, and there is the QR code to go for it. I think it's on for another 2 weeks. But you can get it straight away. You can download the book straight away. They are available in different formats. I think the most common format was PDF. So you do get an unlocked PDF that you can highlight and stuff. You know, Affinity could learn from that, couldn't they? With their ridiculously expensive and now out-of-date books. Just saying. The ones that I've got have been very good. They're from Pact Press, all of them. So if you are interested in design, that might be something that we could part you with. Oh, now Simon's been playing with Illustrator. I know Illustrator's one of your favourites, isn't it? Designer's my favourite. Colour vector-based fonts. Yeah, I don't think Designer can be used for that. Because I was reading up on that, and they recommended Illustrator. So I'm going to have to look at Illustrator again, aren't I? Right. Okay. Let's try moving on again. You're going to let me move on? No, you're not. No idea what's wrong here. Right, Snagit Freebies is what we've got next. So if you use Snagit, you will be aware that it contains assets, different kinds of assets, but all together under the heading of assets. So there are various things that you can have in there. There are themes, which are colour settings, so groups of colour settings. You can create these yourself, or you can download them and install them into Snagit. The other thing that they have available is templates. The templates are great if what you do is like a quick and dirty tutorial for Facebook, which I did once. Somebody needed to, what were they doing? I think it was raffle tickets, and they couldn't work out the data merge, which was fairly straightforward. So I threw this thing together, and then you can only have one image when you're replying in Facebook. You can only have one image. So that's perfect for that. I can put 4 or 5 images on it, but when it exports as a single image with all of the numbered things on it, and you can put text on it as well. So they've provided more of these things. Also got stamps. Now the stamps that I actually use, I do not use potted plant stamps. Trust me on that. I mean, they're all very fun and everything, and they'd be great in education, I suppose, but not for standard tutorials. But the stamps that I do use are mouse pointers. So if I've taken a screenshot and I want it to look like it's come off a Windows machine, when I take the screenshot, I never take the Chrome and I never take the mouse. So I can change the mouse for a Windows mouse. And the other thing I can do, by not taking the screenshot with the mouse pointer, which means it's burnt into the image and I can't move it, I can actually put the mouse pointer anywhere I want if I use a separate mouse pointer, which is a stamp. So that's my use of it. So let's head off in there. At least that's working, so the keyboard's not dead. And what I'll do is I will show you these things, if I can find. Everything's moved around because it all got upset with its little self. But I will find it. I will endeavour to find it. I will show you how you go about getting these things. You can get them from inside Snagit itself. But it's just as easy to get outside of that. So I need the link, which I will go and get. My window has disappeared. This is terrible, this Mike. Stuff should not disappear and hide itself. But I'm almost there. I am almost there. Right, I will get an extra window and bring it so you can see it. Not going to be good if you can't. Right, let's grab that and hopefully that will move over here. I've got real problems with tonight. I said the internet had been acting up all day. Looks like this is acting up as well. What have you done? Where's it gone now? Right, gotcha. Okay, let's bring that on. Excellent. Right, so I'm going to bring on a link. Mike will put these links in. We'll start with stamps because it's at the top. So let's pop that in there. Awesome. So I've gone to the library. You don't even, this is open to the public. How much use these assets would be to you without Snagit is debatable. But what I've done with the links is, you'll see I've pre-filtered so they're only including the starter assets. Now, it says starter. What it means is free. If we put a tick in premium, we would be getting things that we needed a subscription for, which is heckishly expensive. But all of the ones that you see here are totally free. So if you've got Snagit and you want extra content, this is a great way to do it. So these ones, as you can see, are the stamps. So the idea is that you load them into Snagit, and then when you want to use them, you switch to the stamp tool and you just click once on your image and you've got all of these images. So actually, I'm reckoning here, checking these, they are all starter ones. They have added quite a few since yesterday. The ones that I think would be most useful, there's the mouse ones down here if you want to highlight that. These ones are handy for numbers because they're quite classy looking. I like those. They would, I mean, you could make these yourself, but it would certainly take you more time than you would want to spend on it. And we had more numbers up here, including this one, which is like sale items. So if you have something that you want to put on social and put like, you know, minus 50%, you can do that. I like the battery ones, although I've got absolutely no use for them. They're kind of cool. And there's some letters and numbers as well that are in there. So there you go. So that is the stamps. They're the stamps. Right, from there, I'm going to switch to the templates and hopefully it'll move on. Right, all templates. But it should keep the fact over here that I don't want to include premium. I just want what the free ones are. So these are the templates that I was saying that would make one image when you export it. I am still hoping, I've been hoping for this for the last 5 years, that when they bring out the next version of Snagit, which will be September, October time this year, they will enable us to do something like screen steps from years ago. So step by step like these, but multi-page. In PDF, please, that. But not yet. So what we have here, all of these will export as individual graphics. So if you wanted a timeline, you've got that one. You've got step by step where it's a single image, but you're putting multiple text blocks on it. Then you've got multiple images, and all of these are free. Now, some of them are included by default in Snagit, but these are available for download, and you would then install them. So you can see some of them are quite plain, where you can add your own branding, but some of them have got more branding on it. Now, you'll notice that all of these say TechSmith Snagit at the bottom. I can't hover, but there, in the lower right corner. They've been told about that 1,000 times. You can turn it off. Well, if you can turn it off, why don't you turn it off by default instead of making me turn it off every single time? But you can turn that off. So if you wanted to showcase a screenshot, you can do that on the phone ones. I think there are some, oh yeah, there's a computer one. So these are probably worth having because you don't want to be going looking for these at the point that you're trying to make the tutorial, because you'll be like, they may have added more, but, if you want a laptop one and that one is perfect, then don't waste time going to look for it. So that is the templates. The other thing that they have in here is 4 different type of assets. You've got the templates, you have themes, and you have photos. So these are the themes. I'm going to miss this candy one, don't you? Definitely. But what this gives you is pre-configured colours that will then apply to elements that you draw. So it could be rectangles, it could be callouts, it could be arrows or step numbers, whatever, but it will use one of the 4 colours that you've got in there. One of them I looked at and straight away thought that'll save me creating one for Scrivener. And there it is. That one is so close to the Scrivener one, it's unbelievable. So many options in here. If you are colour challenged, that is a good way to work with them. But as I say, you can create your own. The good things about the stamps, the templates and the themes is that you can generate your own and you can export them and you can share them, or you could sell collections of them. Interestingly, when I went to the photos, so unless they've done an update since last night, no, there are no photos that are free. There are no starter photos at all. If I put the tick in the premium and apply it, then yes, there'll be plenty of photos. And some of these photos you may have seen elsewhere. Because if you look in the lower right here, it says powered by Shutterstock. So you do pay for these, but if you've already got the Shutterstock credits or account, then many of them are the same. I don't bother paying for assets for these. I would use the free assets, but I don't bother paying for the assets. I found by comparison to the software that it was just a little bit too expensive. But those are the assets that you've got free of charge, at least the ones that we've seen. No photos. But we do have plenty of free stock photos that we've looked at before. So have you put the links in for that lot?
I have, yeah.
Excellent. Have you got any questions?
Questions?
Oh, Simon, please stop using potted plant stamps for a Fortune 500 company. Do you know, I saw that original meme just the other day. It was the one where it said, please don't print huge print jobs or something, and it was in Comic Sans, and somebody had put on it, don't use Comic Sans. That was a range of memes about being at work. And it reminded me of how horrific it was. Even though it was the mid-90s, it was still burnt on my brain. Right, that is the Snagit thing. So, need to go back in here because we have something else to do with TechSmith. Which is, we talked about TechSmith Maintenance last week. I know it's totally my fault. I said it was quite cost effective. I couldn't see how it was cost effective to them. Because no one would be taking, unless you'd missed out 2 or 3 versions, you wouldn't be upgrading because the upgrade price was like £150 and the maintenance was like 40. It made no sense. I was quite right. Sorry about that. This week I got this mail. So they tell you how marvellous maintenance is, and I'd only got through half of the first line before I realised the price was going up. So too long didn't read version, price is going up. They will align the price of maintenance with the premium value it provides. This is reminding me of Evernote. Is it reminding you of Evernote? With the value. So they do say it'll be a minimal price increase. But I don't see how those 2 sentences work together. If they're aligning the price of maintenance with the premium value, why would it only be a minimal price increase? My next maintenance is due in June, so I'll let you know when it arrives. But yes, it's going up. Basically, the price of that is going up. It's still going to be less expensive than not taking maintenance, and maintenance includes the next version of the software, but it also includes all the training materials. And so it's not just maintenance. And maintenance is a strange word for it because it does include the certification training as well. But there you have it. who's peeved about that. I could be happier, let's put it like that. Okay, let's move on to the next thing, which is Whimsical. Who's heard of Whimsical? Did anybody put in the chat that they'd heard of it, Mike?
Nobody put in the chat.
Oh dear. Is this maybe because you're not going to be in the slightest bit interested, or are you going to be enthralled? I think I'll go for enthralled. Right, Whimsical is an online service for diagrams. So it is on the Mac, you would have OmniGraffle, and you would be able to create very good diagrams in that. On Windows, you would have Visio. Visio never came to the Mac, did it? I used to be a Visio trainer. Loved it. I used Visio back when Visio owned it, before Microsoft bought it. And it was comical. Do you remember when I put together my very first, like, not CV, but knowledge sheet? And you used to put everything on it. And I said, I'll put Visio on it. And Mike was like, why? No, I'm going to put Visio on it. And this company rang me over something entirely different. I quoted them my daily rate. They disappeared, not surprisingly. But then they got an inquiry for Visio, and I was the only trainer that had put Visio on it. So irrespective of my daily rate being more than twice what everybody else was, I got the job because I knew Visio. So on the Mac, I've used OmniGraffle. I can't say I'm in love with it. It's not buttery smooth to me. It's very, very capable. So the other day I thought I'll give Whimsical a try. No, obviously, I'm not spending money on this. So this week, we'll have a look at more diagrams next week, but this week you can start for free. Completely for free. So go to whimsical.com and sign up for a starter account. Now, there's obviously got to be some limitations on this. So in terms of what you get and what you don't get, the starter, I think, would be more than adequate for most people. It doesn't actually tell you on there what the limit is. But you'll notice there's a tick and it says limited free items to get started. But what it means, judging by what I've read elsewhere on the site, is each diagram is made up of components. So if you think of a flowchart, now it does a lot more than flowcharting, but think of a flowchart. If you've got, say, 6 steps and you've got links between them, then you're looking at 6 blocks and 5 links and maybe some text explaining it. And all told, you might have like 30 blocks on this diagram. From the help file, the limitation is 500 blocks per diagram. So that doesn't look bad to me. Also, you can have unlimited members. You can add guests, and you can have up to 10 guests. You get real-time collaboration, and it includes the 2-factor. So I went for the free one to have a look how it went. If I run out of blocks, then I may contemplate it. But the other 2 options, obviously, everything's $10. Have you noticed that, Mike? Yeah. Or 12 if billed monthly. So 120 versus 144. And then there's the organisation one, which was totally irrelevant. So that's the pricing structure. You can do everything that I'm going to show you with it for free because I haven't signed up for a pro account. So I know that for fact. Right, so it is browser-based. Does it work on mobile? Yes, it does, but you have to use Safari. So that is one of the limitations. You have to use Safari on mobile. So, Whimsical. Let me get to that, and then I will share the page. If only I spelt things right, I'd get straight there, wouldn't I? Oh, to load. Come on. I am logged in. Right. So this is the interface. This presupposes that you've already signed up for a free account, and this is what you see. So, starting at the top, the name here, although that is my name, that's the active workspace. So, you know, like in Notion, you have a workspace and you call that whatever you want to call that. I decided just to call it Elaine Giles. So that is the workspace. You can have multiple workspaces. Within a workspace, you have your files. So these are my files over here, but you can also have teams. So you can create a team if you want. Obviously, this is just me at the moment, so I'm not doing that. Oh, got to agree with Simon. I haven't used Omni in a while, but they went from cutting edge to rather ordinary. Didn't scale well as a company. They bet the business on the iPad. I remember that. They were there was Omni Outliner, Omni Graphel, all for Mac. And then in 2010, when the iPad came out, they were one of the first companies to take their apps to the iPad, and all of their apps were available on iPad, which was great. But that seemed to slow down the development on Mac, and I'm not sure they've ever recovered from that. Right, so our files. So that's what we've got down the side here. We've also got templates and themes. Anything you delete will go to the trash. And then you've got your total items down here where you've got 500 items. So very similar to Notion, right? I've used 126 in 2 diagrams. So I guess this is going to depend how many diagrams I create. Right, what else have we got? Across the top here, you have different types of documents that you can create. This was a little confusing, given that all of the tutorial videos are wrong. They must have updated how they're doing everything, so the tutorial videos don't work anymore. But you can create what they call rich documents. So if you think of how Notion works, which is block-based, you can create very pretty, because I don't think Notion's that pretty. People say to me, oh, it's so aesthetically pleasing. And I'm like, is it? It's okay, but to me, not as aesthetically pleasing as it could be. These documents are very nice, very nice. You can create boards, so think Jamboard, think Microsoft Whiteboard, where you can put flowcharts, you can put mind maps. So think Miro if you've used Miro. You can also create wireframes. So the idea with the wireframe is that you outline what an app looks like or functions like. So you can show like a flow through how an app works. The other objects that they've got is projects. You can create projects. So they include what look like cards and Kanban boards. And the beauty of this is that boards, wireframes and projects all start with the same blank canvas, and they can be mixed and matched. So if you wanted a wireframe to say this is what our app looks like, but then next to it you want to put the project flow for how the next 3 months is going to look, and then maybe a board underneath, you can do that all on one canvas. I think you can put documents on the canvas as well, but you can't put the canvases on the documents, as far as I remember. You've also got the ability to start from a template and to add folders so you can organise everything. So we'll have a look at the templates and themes that you've got in here, the types of things that this can create. So in here, I haven't created any templates at the moment, and this is the default theme. So this has got the default colours in it, and I've stuck to those at the moment. But if we go back up here to my files, and we say from template, then this is a little bit like the Notion templates. It actually looks similar. Obviously the diagrams are incredibly different, but the way that you select them. So you can either search for something by putting that in at the top, or you can scroll through. So obviously you've got a very basic mind map. You've got user flows, which, are you remembering this from when we had to do it?
Yeah.
User flows and UML use case diagrams. I made a presentation once. I trained people for 3 days, and I had to have every single diagram on a slide. It had 300 slides. I only used it once. Right, so we've got UML in there as well. We've got flowcharts. Swim lane diagrams was something that I used to make with Visio. So a swim lane diagram, I'm going to preview that. It allows you to put a process flow together, but put certain aspects of that flow into a lane that relates to what the first object is in it. So if this was an app, a specific app that you did that in, so maybe the first lane here is plain text, and the second one is when I get into Notion, and the bottom one is when I take it into Scrivener. It's a way of representing that, because other than colour coding them, there wouldn't really be a different way to represent that. So I use those a lot. But as you can see, there's a whole range of things in here. Organisation charts, social media campaign flow charts. I just tweet every now and then. That's it. Stuff like flowcharts for bug reporting and that. Yep, done all of those. This is landing pages. So this is more at the use case end. More simple process flows, more mind maps. So these are all the things that you've got in there to go at. So you can use these as a starting point if you want, or you can just examine them and just see how they hang together. You can also here filter. So this is going to filter for something to do with design. So these were just the suggested, that's not all of them. As you go into here, you've got watch wireframes, other kind of wireframes, user journeys, you name it. So let's look at the flowchart and diagrams in there. I'm not sure why I'd want a flowchart for Azure, but it's got the Azure icons in it, so maybe I would. But these are the kind of things I used to do in a former life, the UML stuff and the site diagrams. The difference between this when I'm working with it and something like OmniGraffle is it just feels really buttery smooth. It feels really modern. Everything twangs to where it should be, without having to fight and say, you know, what size is the canvas and all of that stuff. So I'm finding it useful. So we've got pyramid diagrams, org charts, you name it, loads of stuff in there. If there's a particular diagram that you want me to demonstrate, then let me know. But what I'm going to do this week is just take through the basics, and we will make a basic diagram from scratch. Not using anything on there, make it from scratch. The project management side of it, this is where you've got the cards and the Kanban look. Now, another reason, if you're looking at this and thinking, yes, but my stuff's in Notion or it's in Obsidian or in my case, all over the place. These visuals that you create, interactive visuals, can be embedded in Notion. So I will show you that. And these are the diagrams. So we'll finish off by looking at the brainstorming. So lots of sticky notes. The workshop planning canvas actually seems quite useful to me. More so than Miro. I've not had a good experience with Miro because it's always been, you're in a session and it's like, oh, let's go and play with the Miro board. And I've got 3,000 people moving icons across the Miro board and I don't like it. I lose track. Right. We've got strategy diagrams. So again, all using the same components, but very different types of diagrams. And it is giving you lots of information about how you could take this and create diagrams for you. So team ops, and the last one is then research. But I mean, this is like they've put on pictures, all kinds of stuff. Right, the one I'm going to create is a diagram that is, it came from Second Brain, and it's the way that I process my inbox. So I'll show you the finished thing, which is my inbox 0 here, and then we'll recreate it. So when I'm processing my inbox, there are 6 steps. First of all, I look at the mails, and if they don't need anything doing to them, or, you know, a glance at them's enough, they just get archived. Some mails need to be replied to, in which case I reply to them, I set a follow-up, and then I archive the mail. I do not leave the mail in the inbox because I'm waiting for a reply. I would set that in things, and I would say, you know, follow up to a mail. I would also, because my mail is in Gmail, I would put the link to the email in the task in things, which will just appear in my inbox on the date that I've specified. There is a limit to what you can do with mails, but pretty much it could include information that you need to put on a calendar. So it could be an appointment, in which case it goes on the calendar, which is step 3. Or it's a task, it's something I need to do, which is step 4. It could be reference, something that's like, I don't want to do anything with it right now, which at the moment I'm putting in Evernote because it's easy. But remember Evernote pricing. Yeah, need to think about that. My renewal is due very soon, so we'll see what happens with that. The other thing I might want to do is, it's not anything on the calendar, it's not something I want to do, and it isn't really something that I just want to throw into reference. I want to read it. I want to read it later, in which case it will go into Readwise Reader. So those are the 6 things that I do. And what I like to do is have a diagram in Obsidian So when I set my timer for 25 minutes mail processing, that diagram is front and centre. So I get reminded, because if I'm not looking at the diagram, I'm thinking, what should I do with this one? And it's easy to forget there's only the 6 things that you can do. So do one of those. So that's the diagram I'll be recreating. So over here, and you get to choose what you want to create. So in this case, just a board, just a blank canvas for me to get started with. Once I've selected that, at the top it's set to untitled. So I'll put that as inbox 0 and demo. Now, depending on what you've selected, so I selected a canvas, you get a range of tools on the left-hand side. And in there you can switch mode. So if you want to switch between board and wireframe and project, you can do. If you switch to, in this case, the wire mode, you get a different range of tools. So that's why it's useful to switch the mode at the top. I'm going to stick with board. Right. Then what you've got in here are your flowchart shapes. So if you click on there, it changes that into all of the shapes. So if I wanted it to have a database on it, I would put the database shape on it. Not useful in white, you can barely see it, but you can change this. So if you want to change that so you can see it, there's the shapes. Right, there's also a whole range of shortcuts you can use. So to put a shape in, you just press S and it switches back to the shape that you last used. If you want a different shape there, just select that. Each one of these has a shortcut. So you can see that one's V and that one's J. So you could quite easily get used to these. I was thinking T for triangle, but never mind. It's a G. And just click to add them. And that's it. Right, so I'm not going to add the wrong ones here. So we'll get rid of this. Let's get rid of that. Right, that's the shapes at the top. The next object you have is sticky notes. So if you want to add a sticky note, you can. So there is a sticky note going on there. Don't know about you, but sticky notes just got to be yellow as far as I'm concerned. And you put your note on there, and it also says who made this. You can change the size of it. You can add bulleted lists and so forth. You can do a lot with those notes. And if the note isn't that big, you just want to maybe put a title somewhere, you can do that. All of these can be changed. Then you have mind map shapes. So all I need to do with that is click there, and I have the centre of a mind map. And then I can add steps to it. And I also get to choose whether the mind map is horizontal or whether it's vertical. So if I've got 4 steps to a process, it might make more sense to have them underneath. So if I click there, there's. And then I get to choose where step 2 goes. So I can put that, step 2. And again, if that's what I want, step 3 and step 4. It's also predictable, which I like. Didn't put 3 on that one, did I? The colours are predictable. They take the theme and they're always going to be the same. So that one is with the steps at the side, but you go back into here, and whereas you've got horizontal, you can set that to vertical if that's what you want, and you can move these around. So if you decided you wanted that one down there, if you pull it too far, you will pull it away from that, but you could add it like that. So complete control. I know there are dedicated mind map tools. I use MindNode, but it feels nice. It feels very nice. It's logical how I can add sub-steps and more steps with the keys that I would expect to use for that. That's the mind map part of it, and it's components that you're bringing on here. So you could have that there, but you could also bring on another one over here and then add stuff over there if that's what you want to do. That should have been 2, but never mind. There we go. And you're going to let me zoom out. You are, aren't you? So I'm using my mouse wheel and the command key, control on Windows. And just delete them. Right, so other things we've got on here are connectors. We can format the text. We can add text blocks. You have access to icons. You can put links in there. You can do a freehand drawing. You can add sections to it, so you could present with this and then move from one section to another. And you've got templates that you can add in. So if you want a head start, you can do that. But what I'm going to do with this is recreate that diagram. And I am this. There we go. I have a reference on my other screen. And I'm just going to start with the shapes themselves. So in here, I'm just going to go for a rectangle. And I'm going to put that there. And that one I'm not going to put any text in because that had the Gmail icon in it. But I did have over here an archive. And I did have over here reply. Now you'll notice as these are going in, I'm just putting the text in. I'm not doing anything clever with it. I'm just putting the text in. So in here, I'm going to put one underneath it. And the first thing was add to calendar. And I am going to use the shift key to force a new line on there, because at some point I'm going to need to put on here the icons, which are not at the moment. Right, so back up here, I want another step that is to the right of that one. So this one was actually add task. Then go back to this one. Now notice it's going to put that over there. So it does this in a bit of an odd order as far as I'm concerned. This is not the order that I would have really wanted it in. So I'm not worried about that. And let's put add to reference and go back to here, and I want one more, and it's going to put that over there. That just seems quite weird to me. I can see that it's lining them up, but that's not really helpful as far as I'm concerned. I would probably add this in the right order. So I'm going to put read later on there. And now I need to get them in the right order. So my add to calendar needed to be over on the left-hand side, and add to reference needed to actually be between these two here. Now, obviously, one way, because they're beautifully laid out, aren't they? They're not equally laid out, but they are beautifully laid out. The easiest way, to be honest, is to go in there and select the whole thing and just cut it. That first one is then... Oh, actually, no, that isn't going to do it, is it? Silly me. That needs to be over there. So what I will do with this is move it over here. So it needs to be between those two. And I will start moving these. Now notice I'm getting the purple lines. Now this one needs to be a little bit further than that to give me enough room. Right, the next one was my add task, so I'm going to move it along. It's very easy to add these and not get them out of line. Whereas with something like Visio and OmniGraffle, yes, and guides, but not quite as good as this, I don't think. This is really easy to work with. It's even giving you the gap between them, so the gap is always the same. So there's now 3 purple lines between those boxes. Right, that is pretty much what I want. But there's graphics to be had. So I do have some graphics. So my Finder window's gone. I did have my Finder window, there it is. Right, I've got a range of graphics, and while they all look, I will show them to you. While they all look similar, they're not. They are all different sizes. They are all different formats. So it doesn't matter. I've got an SVG, I've got the others are PNGs, but they're all different sizes. But I have them lined up and ready to go. You should notice there's one missing. We'll worry about that in a moment. Right, I'm going to bring on the first one. And I am having the usual trouble with the mouse. There we go. So let's bring that on. That is the Gmail icon. So what I want to do with that is actually pop that in there and have it in the middle. And again, you can see it's aligning it correctly and everything. Now, if I want, as far as I'm concerned with this, that on and that shape, I want them grouped. Because if I move one, I want to move the other. Now, if I do this and I move that, it automatically keeps the graphic with it, which is fantastic. It's not grouped at this stage. But if you want to officially group it, you can select that and you can group there. And now that is an official group. Carol's got invited to Raycast AI. Oh, that's your weekend gone, Carol. Right, so I've done the first one. My next one is Archive, and I have an icon for it. And the icon I've got is just a folder. So it's a PNG and it's just a folder. Look at the size of it. Luckily, you can scale it, obviously. So let's try and scale that down a bit. Back into play so I can see it. Right, let's get it up here and bring it down in size considerably. Very tiny. Somewhere between 60 to 80, I would have thought. But if I put this over here, I've got a problem, because that's going to be over the text. Luckily, in here, you are able to format the text. So you have there to edit the text, and that gives you a whole extra range of things you can do with it. So I want to move it to the left, but I actually want it to be a bit larger than that so I can see it. Probably large rather than extra large. And that gives me enough room to put that next to it. And you can see that too is also lining up. Right, the next one I've got is calendar one. And I need to do the same with all of that text, really, because this is also going to be in the way unless I go to the text and I align it to the left and hopefully be able to make it a bit bigger. Then scale this down. So around there maybe, and hover over there, get that in the right place. And we've got that one in there. Doesn't look like it's correctly placed. There, that's better. Right, so this one, and this one need exactly the same treatment. So if I select those and we change this to, no, I don't want to do that to the shapes, it's the text. So go into the text and do that. I can change all those at the same point. So I now need the remaining icons. So I've got my Readwise Read Later app over there. Hugely big. I need my things icon to add it as a to-do, and the other one is my reference, which at the moment is Evernote. So let's make those all smaller, put those in. All right, there was still an extra step that I took. Reference, and put that one in there. So we'll have it centered and move it fractionally that way. Get this one, same performance. And I am actually only eyeballing these. I'm not scaling them 100% correctly. That's because some icons, like this one, is not square. And so I might need it slightly taller to make up for the fact it's narrower. But it will do. And scale that one. It's somewhere I can see it. I think I might actually have used the wrong icon for that. I think that might be Readwise rather than Readwise Reader, but never mind. Right, a bit smaller. Not smaller actually to get that in there. I am going to need to shift enter that to move that over the other side. And that one is a bit too big, so let's make it a little bit smaller. Not quite that small. There we go. Right, I'm still one missing, which is the reply. And I've left that one deliberately because I did have an icon for it and it was far too small. It pixelated. So I thought, I wonder what I can find in here. We do have icons in here. So there's a whole range of them. You can have a look at them if you want to. Shall we look at romance? Oh, bless. Right, or you can search for it. So I think I typed in reply, see what it came up with, and it came up with this one, and that's the one that I selected. So I clicked on there and added that. It was a little bit too big, a little bit smaller. This one, why are you jumping around? That needs to be bigger text and it needs to be left aligned. And then I can just take that and put that in there. Perfect. The extra step that I took was I needed to know that the archive and the reply are 1 and 2, and these are 3, 4, 5 and 6. So what I did was I went back to shapes, and I took an oval shape like that, and I made it smaller, about that size I think, maybe even smaller. Put some text in it, so it's got the number 1 in it. I think yes, that was centered. That was where I wanted it. I think I did make that a little bit bigger though. So I went up to large from there. And there is my 1. But I am also going to do 2 and a 3. So I'm holding down the Option key and dragging, and just like a desktop app would, it duplicates it. So I can add it in here. So if I add that one over there and make that 2. Now you may be wondering, that's pretty bad. Can't you put a number on the line? And yes, you can. So if I wanted to say that that was 3, I could do that, and it would put it on the line, and it would break the line so I can see it. I can even move it like this. I, however, discovered a problem, which was this one here. Let's say I want to do the same, and I put that that is 4. It does split its own line, but it doesn't split the third line here. So that's why I decided to shape and not actually attach it. But attaching it is one option if you don't have things as tight as I've got them, where they're overlapping. Which you could do by pulling these down and however you want to work it. But I decided to go this route and put it on little dots like that. So if I take that one and I do a 4, a 5, a 6, that should do us. So what are you doing? Right, let's put that one there. It's going to be a 4, and that's going to be the 5. And that is going to be the 6. And let's put those numbers in. And I did have these perfectly aligned. I did that by snapping them to the shapes above. So let's go there. So these two not quite right at the moment, and I think that's because these aren't actually lined up properly by the look of it. I can move that, but I've got to make sure that I don't actually select anything else. So we were slightly off, but as I move that over, you see it snap to the middle, which means that this number 5 is lined up to the edge of the Gmail icon. So as I try moving this, you can see this one is not quite lined up to over there, but it's easy to line it up. This one would probably be better lined up to the centre of that, and then I can do the same to this one over here, which I think is already in the right place. It looks like it is. And there is our diagram. So the first thing you're going to want to do is maybe take that out and use it in some other context. Now, obviously, you can use this as a platform for collaboration, so you wouldn't actually need to export it unless you're not collaborating. And at the moment, I'm not collaborating. But you have options in here. So you've got this is sharing it on here. So if I wanted to copy the link and provide that to people, I could do that, which is how I stumbled across Whimsical. I saw it demonstrated. Right. You can have voting on it if you want to. If you're saying, you know, do we want A or B? You can do that. You can also present on it, but pet peeve of mine that. Then you can add comments to it, and you can share, export and print. So very simple to copy the image or export it. So if we hit export, and you have an option for size, and you can decide if you want the background included or not, and then save it. And it's preparing to export it, and it will download that to the downloads folder. So could do with going to find the downloads folder, couldn't we? Right. Let's go and get it, and I will show it to you. So it's PNG, it's 180k. And that is what it looks like. So the fidelity is perfect. But you might want to get feedback on this in a different way. So if I take this here and I copy the link and I then go into Obsidian. So I need to, not Obsidian, good grief, no, Notion. Oh no, I could put the picture in Obsidian, but no, we're going into Notion. So let me get a Notion page to get into. So we will go for tonight's show. So let's bring that on. Right, there's tonight's show. Whoa, unboxing, don't get excited, there isn't an unboxing. Right, so in here at the bottom, we have the ability. So /embed, and you have all of these options when it comes to embedding. Some work better than others, and some may never work again, like Twitter. But in here you have options, and one of them is Whimsical. So you can click on there, and it gives you a Whimsical embed. All you need to do is to paste in the link that you've copied from Whimsical and click on link. With a bit of luck, it will do just that. So it's connecting. You do need to connect and give it permission first. This isn't just random, like it's saying connect. Really? Come on, where are you? This is what, this is the verification that I had to perform. So it looks like it's asking me again. I would have hoped it didn't do it every time, but it did work when I did it. I just had to give it permission. So this is where it's asking for permission to do that. So I'll say yes. I have already done that. Don't know why it needs to do it twice. And it's coming in. And there is the diagram when it finishes loading. Come on, don't let me down. There we go. So you do have full fidelity with that as well. You can zoom into it in here and zoom out of it in there. You also, up here, can change the alignment of it. You can expand it. So if it's a bigger diagram, you can expand it. And you can click here to go back to Whimsical and edit it. I'm thinking that would be really useful, Mike. What do you think?
Very.
Our flows in our wiki. Because, you know, wherever else you have it, like something like OmniGraffle, you would have to export it as a graphic and then import it. And then if you need to update it, it takes time. You've got to redo it. I can see Whimsical in my future. Let's just put it like that. I do like flowcharts. Flowcharts save a lot of words as far as I'm concerned. But that is how you get it in. So let's get that out of the way. So what I will do next time is we will take that further and look at the other types of things you can do, because at this stage it's looking just like diagrams. But the other views that you have, the wireframes and the project management, you could actually manage projects in here. I mean, it's not Trello, it's not Asana, it's not Notion. But for some people, you know, they just want to provide an update for stakeholders or something like that. The non-technical folk, they only want to see like a timeline or something like that, and you can do all of that in there. Right. What export formats has it got? Pretty much, as I see it there, you can copy it as an image, but when you export it, you get a PNG. Other than that, you can embed it. I'm surprised there's no vector export that I can find yet. But I haven't looked at it that long, and I will endeavour to find a vector export. So I hope that answers your question, Joe. Do we have any other questions?
No, that was it.
Right, okay. I will move that out of the way. Go back into here. Right, can't see what on earth is coming next because that's in the way. Oh, it's the freebies. These are good. I think Renee will like these. They likes playing with these things. Okay, so let's move that there. The freebies. Don't run away screaming. These were from Adobe. I did check they were free though, so hopefully you'll be able to download them just like me. But it was 10 free mock-ups, and they were very well designed mock-ups for posters, business cards and t-shirts. So this is what they look like. Down we go. There they are. I tried one, which I tried that newsletter, that newspaper one there. It wasn't perfect because my graphic wasn't perfect, but the image was pretty. So there's t-shirts, books, even a bag on the back of a chair, and some more. The good thing with this is the way that they've organised it. They've actually put the size that your embed needs to be inside the image. So that one needs to be 61 centimetres by 91 centimetres, this one here. A lot of the time you don't get that, and it's trial and error. Or you've got to go in and have a look at it and size it up and then go and make the graphic. That's actually telling you what that is to start with. So have you put the link in for those, Mike?
I have put the link in.
Excellent. Right, moving along. PowerPoint's playing with my mind today. Right, we're on to you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Just about.
I am ready.
So it's part 2. Mike is making a dashboard, but it's a Premier League dashboard. So let me know when you're ready, Mike.
I'm ready.
I will get over to you. This is... Oh, come on. Right, there we go. They can see you, Mike.
Okay, I'll make a start. So last week, what I did is I did the preparation work for building this dashboard. And I did it by actually using this website. Now, there's loads of websites out there that have got the Premier League table in. But I use this website because, one, it's got the Premier League table in, but it's also got all of the results. One of the problems you've got is that you can't connect Excel on the Mac directly to a website. There is a workaround. I covered it in last week's YouTube video, but it's not that intuitive, particularly if you want to make changes to the data and reformat it. But this particular site allows you to export the data as a CSV, and using Power Query in Excel for the Mac, you can then import the data from a CSV. The only downside is every time this web page gets updated, export the data as a CSV, stick it on your desktop or wherever you had it originally, make sure the name of the file is the same, and then hit refresh inside Excel. So it is a little bit more manual. There's a few extra steps, but apart from that, it does work. Just keeping my eye on the chat as well. So yeah, that's the data I'm working with. So I'm going to close this down. So where we got to last week was that we had the data in 2 separate sheets. This was the after version of the data. So I did, as part of the demo, the import, and then I used Power Query to tidy it up, to transform it, removing columns, converting that grid into a list structure, and more. What I'm going to do this week is make some sense out of that. Now, when we talk about dashboards, most people think about bar charts and pie charts and that kind of thing. And yeah, if you go and Google what is a dashboard, you get something really visual coming back. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it more of a report than a dashboard. And that's the thing about dashboards. Dashboards are very personal in how they look. So what I'm going to create, you can still call it a dashboard, it's just not going to have lots of graphics. But that gives me scope for doing another session in which I'll create a visual dashboard. So this is going to be more of a stats dashboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the sheet called League, which you can see I've set up just by putting some column headings in. Now, if you look at the data in columns A to I, I've set those column widths to how I want them. If you look at L to T, I haven't. I've literally just copied that data, paste, paste, paste. Rather than me setting the column widths manually, I'm going to select A2 to I2. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to go to L2 And instead of hitting paste, I'm going to click the drop down arrow next to paste and say keep source column widths. And what that has done is that has set the widths of column L to T, widths of column A to I. So it's a nice little shortcut trick there. If you just want to copy the column widths, the data was already there, so it didn't actually copy that data. If you wanted to copy the data as well, you'd have had to have done just a standard paste. But the ability to copy column widths, I find, is really, really useful. Okay, so the next thing is to go back to the table, the sheet called data table. Here's my league table. So this was originally the CSV data that's been tidied up. It's in a proper Excel table. We know that because there's the table tab, and I've called the table TBL league table. And I've done that because I want to use that in some formulas. So if I go over to the league sheet and go to A3, I can put equals TBL and select league table from that list and press enter. What that will do is that will literally give me a live copy of this data here, where when this data gets updated, this data gets updated automatically. So it's a great way if you want to have multiple blocks of data all referencing the same source. What I used to do before I had the ability here to create what they call dynamic array formulas is I used to use and I don't even know if it's in the Mac version, I'd have to check, but certainly on the Windows version there's a camera tool. The idea of a camera tool is that you can click on the camera tool button, the mouse pointer becomes across, you can draw around a range of cells, and although you end up with an image which you can then paste anywhere you like, that image is a live image, so it's actually linked directly to the original data, which is quite useful. So I could then paste the image here and it will be a live link to the original data. But you don't need to do that now. You can still do it, but you don't need to do that, certainly on the Windows version. And also on the Mac version, if the camera tool existed, which I can't actually remember. So it is a live table of data. The next thing I want to do is I want to grab the top 4 teams, and we all know how important the top 4 is, but we won't talk about that this week. To grab the teams, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the top 4 rows from the table called TBL league table, and I'm going to put that over here. And to do that, I'm going to use the take function. What the take function will do is allow you to take X number of rows from the top of a range. So you put equals take, open bracket, table, which is league table, comma, and the number of rows. And again, that is a live formula. So as the league table gets updated, then that will get updated as well. And I can do the bottom 3 in a similar way. Use the take function, specify the name of the table, comma, -3. And that will pick the bottom 3 rows from that table. Now, we can't use that for 5 and 6. So what I'm going to do is do a different formula. There's a function called choose rows, and it literally allows you to take a range. Could be a table, could just be a set of rows. And what you could do is you can choose the row numbers. Now, when I say row numbers, I don't mean the actual numbers down the left-hand side here. I mean that's the first row, that's the second row, third row, and so on. So what I'm going to do there is use equals choose rows, specify the name of the table, comma, and then put 5,6. So you just specify the row numbers, just separate them with commas, and that is showing me the 5th row and the 6th row from that table. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, having done the league tables, and I'll just save that, and as you can see, these are using dynamic formulas, so they will just update as the original data changes. So that is the league sheet, and the league sheet is based on this raw data here. The next thing I want to do is I want to put some stuff on the sheet called Man United. And the source data for this is the sheet called results. Now this originally was the CSV file that had the data structured as a grid. And I imported last week the data from the CSV, tidied it up, and what I've got is a nice list. And this list will act as my source. What I do is I'm going to list all the home matches, all the away matches, and all of the matches. And I also want to pick just the one row where United are. Now, I'll do this bit first. I can't use choose rows and I can't use take, because choose rows and take are position and you don't know where United's going to be in the league. So what I can do instead is I can use a different function. I can use the filter function. So I'll go over to M3. I don't need the team name, which is in here. I just need the played, won, drawn, lost, etc. So what I will do is I will put equals filter, open bracket. So the filter function allows you to take one or more rows from a table or a range based on some criteria. So the range I wanted to look at is the table called TBL League Table, and the filter is where TBL League Table, and then the name of the column, which is team, and that has to go in square brackets, equals, and then in quotes, Manchester United. So what that formula is doing is applying a filter to the table and giving me back the rows, or obviously in this case it's going to be one row, where the team column in that table has Manchester United in it. Okay, so kind of done it. We have a problem, and the problem we've got is it's literally taken that data and put it into starting there, and we don't want the team name. So the way we can solve that is to wrap the filter function inside the choose rows function. So I'll just click in the formula bar, put rows, open brackets. I want it to look at the filtered version of the league table, and then it's going to be comma 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I happen to know there are 8 columns and I don't want the first one. And why hasn't that worked? What's gone wrong here? Oh, hang on, it's the 9th column. Let me just try that. 9. No, it still doesn't like that.
Brackets blind.
Probably am brackets blind. Do I need that closing bracket? No, I do need that closing bracket there. This worked in rehearsal.
It always works in rehearsal.
What have I done wrong here?
My machine wasn't creaking in rehearsal.
Choose rows, filter that, comma 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with that. Let me just have another look. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What's okay to me? Okay, something's gone wrong. I'm not going to waste any time on it now, but I will check that. I've even got the formulas written down when I prepped them last week. So yeah, I could be black.
Oh, the teeth as well.
Yeah, I'm losing it now, aren't I? No, it doesn't like that. Okay. I will come back to that.
Did you turn it off and on again?
Yeah, that's a good idea, isn't it? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the home matches. Now, to get the home matches, what I want to do is go to this sheet here and go to the table, which is called TBL. I want to pick all the rows where we've got Manchester United in the home team column. So to do that, I'll put equals filter, open brackets, select TBL results, that's the table, and the filter is going to be where the TBL results home team equals Manchester United. So what that's done is that has given me just the records I want. The filter function is one of the functions that is really, really useful. I find it really, really useful. And then, because I don't want to see the first column, I just want that column, that in for and that in against, I'm going to try the choose rows again and see why that didn't work. So equals choose rows, open brackets. That is the range I want it to look at, and I want it to look at columns. I want it to pick columns 2, 3 and 4. Close brackets and enter. There we go. So, no, that hasn't worked again, has it? Why hasn't that worked again? Something not right here. 2, 3 and 4. Hang on a minute, I know what I've done wrong. I've done choose rows, it should be choose cols. So I wasn't quite bracket blind, but I was getting confused between my rows and columns.
Horizontal and vertical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The difference is crucial. So if I go and change that to choose cols, because I'm choosing the columns, not the rows, then there we go, that is better. So what I've done is I've got all the home matches. And to get the away matches, it's going to be very similar. It's going to be equals choose cols, so choose the columns. The range I want it to look at is the filtered version of TBL results, comma, where TBL results away team this time equals Manchester United. And that is going to be columns, this time columns 1, 3 and 4, because I do want the home team, I don't want the away team. The final thing I am going to do is display the club badge. So if I was doing this in the real world, then what I would do is I would have a separate sheet for each, but I'm just doing it for one, and then it's going to be rinse and repeat for the others. So I want to put the club badge in V2. So what I will do is I will copy this link, which is to the United crest on Wikipedia, and then I will use the image function, equals image, open brackets, put in the URL in double quotes, close brackets, and enter. Now it's come up with blocked because for some reason external data connections have been disabled. So if I click enable the content, it should come through. I don't know why it's not come through. How very strange. Do I need to save the file and close it down? I think I might.
I told you, turn it off and on again.
Let me just do that and then reopen the file, because again it did work when I tested it. And then enable the content. No, it is still blocked. No idea what the problem is with that. Why isn't it allowing me to display? What it should be doing is grabbing that image and displaying it in the cell. And that's one of the cool new features of Excel, the ability to display images in cells. No idea why that's gone wrong. Okay, so that is the beginnings of the dashboard. What I will do next week is I will do some more visual stuff on the dashboard. Okay, do we have any questions?
Apparently we have audio issues.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's nothing that we can do about that.
No, we will blame...
Unless it's that bad that we should just stop. So, can you let us know in the chat? Had issues today, haven't you? I think it's the internet connection.
I've had lots of issues today.
Although it's not actually dropped. And speed-wise, I've done a speed check and it's fine. So let us know in the chat. We can always go away and have some ice cream and call it a night.
That's an idea.
Let us know. I'm going to wait.
And come back next week.
We'll wait and see what you say. Right, I'll switch from you though. Hang on. There we go. Right, so you can do whatever you like on your machine now because you're not showing the screen anymore.
Oh, okay then. Try and work out why this image is blocked, which wasn't blocked on Monday when I was prepping.
Isn't tech wonderful? Right, while you're pondering over the state of the audio, I'll get on with them. Can AI write Dataview queries? I wondered. So I went and I found out. This was what I discovered. The way AI works best is if you ask it questions to establish its knowledge before we start, or you tell it what it's an expert in. So I've said I use Obsidian for my notes and I've installed the Dataview community plugin. Are you able to write Dataview queries for me? So it's comical this, isn't it? Because sometimes it'll say, oh yes, give me that. And then you tell it what you want and then it says, no, I can't do that. But this one says, yes, I can help you write Dataview queries for your notes. And it told me what it needed. So what kind of data was I trying to query? And did I have any specific criteria? So did I want it filtered by date or tags or whatever? Carol says, don't go. I need my Obsidian fix. You wouldn't want to miss this one, Carol. So it told me what it needed. So I thought, well, we'll keep it fairly basic, let's see what you can come up with. So I said I need a Dataview query to list all the files in a subfolder, and I told it what the subfolder was called. And then a folder within that called macOS. I need the results to be listed in descending order. So it came back and it said, right, here you go. I don't know why it wrote it in 2 languages when I'd specifically said I want it in Dataview. So we'll go with the bottom one first, because Mike said, why is it writing in SQL? I said, no idea. That's like asking for it in Portuguese, isn't it, and getting it in Dutch? I don't know. But the top one doesn't say it's Dataview language. It says it's VB.net. So ensued a discussion between Mike and I over VB.net. But I looked at it and I thought, well, it's not right, but it's not a million miles away either. So the first line is correct. It's got the backticks and it's got the word Dataview. So that is totally correct. The next line, it did say table, so it's going to return the results in a table. But where it says file.ctime, that's not what we put in Obsidian. So it's not far off. The line from 3 resources macOS is totally correct. The sort is almost correct, but again, it's done it by time. So if you wanted that alphabetical, then you would need to change the file dot to be file.name. So, in essence, it needed to be different. That was what it came up with. It wouldn't have worked if I'd have just copied and pasted it. So it's not bad. The bottom one you could ignore. I've no idea why it came up with that. But the top one, there was enough there that I could fix it. Let's put it like that. So what I actually needed was the 3 backticks and Dataview. So that it got right. It said table, but I wanted a list, so I changed it to list. The from 3 resources macOS was correct. The sort was almost there, but it was file.name and not file.ctime. So, in answer to the question, can it write your queries for you? To some degree, but you would not be able to copy and paste it at the moment. Now, if you trained it more, then maybe you would. So if you gave it a lot of instruction as to the format you wanted it in, and the fact like the last line is 3 backticks, there's a possibility that it may do a better job. With ChatGPT, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you just go to it and say, you know, write me a story about a duck and a cat, it will write you a story about a duck and a cat, but it won't be as rich as if you told it the duck's name and the cat's name and how they met and whatever. So you really do need, there are prompts that are 5 pages long, and you just put the prompt in and then it comes back and it says, okay, I've got all of that, give me the first piece of information. And it will then talk you through another 5 pieces of information. So you could actually, in ChatGPT and AI in general, write out, you know, you could give it a prompt that said, the first line needs to be this, the last line needs to be that. Stop and ask me whether I want a list, a table, or tasks. Stop and ask me where I want it from. Do I want it by a tag? You could create it, but, you know, that thing we used last week where you just followed through step by step is probably faster than doing that yourself. So out of the box, I'd only give it maybe 20% accuracy. But you could improve that. But there you go. Tracy's been complaining and YouTube's put her down to 240. Oh, up it, Tracy. No wonder the audio's bad. Right, okay. Last week we looked at Dataview queries. So we looked at the syntax of them. We looked at creating them with the step-by-step walkthrough. What we're looking at, though, remember, is creating an MOC, a map of content, a special note that provides a path through your notes. You can have as many MOCs as you like, even for the same content, because one might be like, do you remember when Boris Johnson did this? He was writing for a newspaper, and it was write a 3,000 word article in support of Brexit, and then write another one against Brexit. And the information that you may want to include could be the same information with a different spin on it. So you could have 2 maps of content, one for the positive and one for the negative. So maps of content are special kinds of notes. We were looking at them in relation to Dataview queries rather than manually add the links to the MOCs. So we looked at the Dataview community plugin, and we went through the fact that it can return information from your notes in 4 formats, either as a list, a table, tasks, or a calendar. And that you didn't need to build this in the way you would if you were in Notion. So in Notion, you have to do everything up front. All of the meta has to be up front. It has to be created, placeholders for the meta, and actually put the meta in there. In Obsidian, it can work based on the location of a file. It can work based on a tag, any number of other things. So it's bringing clarity from chaos, really. So if we go back to where we were, which was this, we'd created one Dataview query to bring this in. And we'd actually changed the sort order as well. So we'd done a manual one and we'd done an automated one. This one, you can see you've got edit this block. So while click away and you cannot tell that Dataview query. You go up here, you can actually see it, and it is a Dataview query. So what we did last week was we pulled data, so we pulled records or pages, however you want to word it, into this list based on where they were. So in our folder structure over here, we had a whole range of folders, lots in the inbox, but in the resources folder, in the Mac OS folder, we have these pages. And it was one page per OS version. And what we wanted to see in here was that information. But notice in your files, they're alphabetical. You can flip them round, but they are starting with Cheetah and finishing with Ventura. In this one, we changed the query. So we changed that from ascending to descending, and we got them the other way round. This time, I wanted to point out that you're not limited to one Dataview query per page. So I could have up here that I'll put this in the right place shortly, but that is all macOS versions, and we'll make that a heading 1, and we will put it at the top of there like that. But let's go through this, and this is your MOC, and you would like to know, you don't just want to stare at that long list, because some of these you've completed and you've maybe created a presentation on, and others you haven't. So you can have on your MOC pages multiple Dataview queries. So let's create another one. So we need the backticks, 3 backticks, type the word Dataview so it knows what to expect. We do want another list, so we'll make it a list. But this time, what I've done is I've gone through these pages and some of them I've completed. So I've worked through what the information is in there and I've put it in my presentation. But some of the pages, so let's go and have a look at these. Look at Ventura. Why are we not moving? Yes, there we go. Almost there. Right, so Monterey. Monterey has a tag at the bottom to say I need to follow it up. So what I would like to do, some of the others have as well, but I don't want to wander through each one of them manually to find out the ones that I need to follow up. I want to automatically generate that. So in here, I need to say from, and instead of giving it a location, which we've done with the top one, everything in a specific folder, what we're going to say in this one is anything that is tagged follow up. So I already have a tag of follow-up, and as soon as I press the hash key, it offers me my tags. Then I want to say sort, and this time we'll do file.name, and we'll do it in descending, like that. That is all you need, and you will then have 2 of these on the page. So moving out of there, these are the pages that have the hashtag for follow-up. So really, I've actually done a lot of work. Obviously, the Raycast notes, CSS, not as relevant, but these are the ones that I would need to look at. And I've now listed just those 3 that are outstanding, which is a lot better than staring at this and seeing how much I may have to do. So what I'll do with this is I want a heading 1, which is outstanding work, and move that to the right place. And notice as I'm moving this, it actually moves it inside the code, but I'm moving it up line by line. On my system, I have Command Control and the up arrow set to do that. And that is much better as far as I'm concerned. I've got a lot less work to do. Another thing that you can do with MOCs to make them a little bit easier to navigate, because I don't know about you, but when I see people's maps of contents, if they're my maps of contents, they obviously make more sense to me. But some maps of contents go on for pages and pages, and you just scroll, 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 scroll. There are other tricks that you can deploy to make your maps of content easier to manage and better to work with. So, I will whip back in here. And I'm going to end up this by not only talking through callouts, but also automating callouts. I have 2 methods to automate callouts because I love callouts, but they're not the easiest thing to work with because there's so many different types and you need to understand the syntax. Now, if it's a Dataview query, that's like a language to me. But what the keywords are on callouts, I'm not memorising 15 of them. I'm not. Automating callouts is just magic as far as I'm concerned. And there were 2 ways that I've done that. One is a method that I put together. The problem with it was it wasn't native. Not native to Obsidian. But the second way, I got some code this week and I edited this code and now it's totally perfect. So that's where we're heading with this. So first of all, callouts. A callout, if I put in a slash and I put callout, you'll see that insert callout is an option. So I'll just press enter and that gives me a callout. The callout's title is title and its contents are the word contents. And when you click away from it, it displays like that. Now I have these all over the place. Absolutely love them. Love them. Now you can get more advanced than that. What you could do is you could change this code word. So instead of it saying note, let's say it's a bug report. So we put bug in. Now when we move away, it's a different colour with a different icon, which is fantastic. I have a whole range of these in here. So these are what we've got. We have notes, info and to-do, abstract, and you can see they are a whole rainbow of colours. The problem is when I'm using them, I use the abstract summary and too long didn't read with the clipboard for my meta. But meta isn't a keyword, and I can't make meta a keyword either. So I just have to remember that it's the abstract. I can't remember it's the abstract, I'll be honest with you. And info and to-do, I use that for a C also. And again, it's like, which one was that? And all I can tell you is it's one of the blue ones. If I remember it's not the pencil, then I'm almost there. But this is an example of the callouts that you could use for reference. But you would have to memorise all of these things. So that's a non-starter as far as I'm concerned. The other thing in here is, if we go down to the bottom, that what we've got there by typing / and then whatever, we don't have all of the features of callouts available to us. You would again have to know the syntax. So if I just moved in there, and I think it's after that, and I put a minus sign in it, you'll notice we can't see the text now. And there is a disclosure triangle. When I click it, it opens it up and it shows the content and I can close it. And that was just by adding the minus to it. There are other syntactical conventions like that that you just have to work out. You know, check the help file, try and memorize them. Right, why is this important? Well, if we take the word contents and we get rid of it and we go up to here and we look at our Dataview, we could take that and we could go down into here and we could put that in, I do believe, and although we've got this outside it, I'd have to put that somewhere else. You can see that you would be able to create an MOC that had more elements in it than you generally want to see, but you can just fold them up. Loving that. But again, the problem is you have to remember to be able to use these callouts. So, is there a way to make it easier? Well, the first thing I did to try and make it easier, so let's go into here. I don't know why that's doing that. If we do that, no, it's just moving it. Never mind, I'll work out what's wrong with it. Right, let's get rid of all of that. I wanted to do that, but I wanted it to be easier. So I have an application called Typinator, and it's a text expander. So I type in some words and it corrects them, or it puts something in. So for example, today's show, the link to today's show on YouTube. I need that all week. I'm sending emails, I'm sending tweets. I need that link. So I start with a section key and AH for after hours, and then the number of the show, 0193. it automatically corrects it or expands it to the YouTube link, which starts with wok. I said I fancied some Chinese, didn't I? Right, so that's what the app does. The problem is it's independent and it's Mac only. So this wouldn't work on an iPad or an iPhone. But this is how it works when I did it. So instead of typing callout, which is the Obsidian way of doing it, what I did was I use the section key and I type callout. And a Hyphenator window appears at the top of the screen. And what I'd done was I'd programmed this so I had all of the different callouts and I had a word explaining what they were and what colour it was and what the icon was. So it's an abstract, that's the keyword, it's in Kingfisher blue and it's got a clipboard icon. So I created all of these. So let's go for the, shall we go for a fail, which is a red X. Then underneath, I would specify the title for that. All right, so failed demo. And then I would press enter. And what would happen is I would get generated in there exactly what I needed. So let's put some test steps. So just some text. Test steps. And when I come out of there, you can see I've got the red failed demo. That was where I put the title. That was the icon. And there's the text I've put in. That meant I didn't have to remember all the text that I would have needed. So in here, I would have had to have remembered all of those words to swap that for. And I've been using that probably for about a year. Now, it's not easy to create that. So let's have a look at it in Hyphenator. Right, it's in Obsidian. I think it's that top one there. So this is what that looks like. That's the code I needed. There's a lot of it, isn't there? Syntactically, it was tricky to put that together, but it's doable. So that was one way to do it, and that was the way that I was relying on. However, I read an article this week and eventually got pointed back to code. I will find the link and I would put it in the description, but I don't think I've got the link at the moment. So this was a wholly different way of doing it. So we can forget the difficult way, and it would only be Mac related and it wouldn't work on your iOS devices. So the code in question uses something that we looked at in a previous session. So now we're getting to the stage where we've covered that much of Obsidian that we can start linking the pieces together. So we've got callouts. Well, at the top level, we're trying to create an MOC. We would like in our map of content to have the ability to put content in but hide it underneath a callout, which is an Obsidian feature. The other week we looked at Templater, and Templater was the lovely thing that gave us, so let me put in today, in fact we've already got today's date, let's put something silly in like 2028 because we won't have that. What we did was we used Templater like that and we created a daily note. And there's our daily note. And it's got the right date, it's got the right day, it's got the link to yesterday and tomorrow and the 3 weeks and everything else in it. So that was our daily note that used Templater. So what we're going to do now is we're going to extend our MOC with callouts by using Templater. It's easier than it sounds. Right, what we need to do is to create a new Templater entry. So I'm going to call this X callout. And my rationale for calling it that is, I don't want to call it anything that I can't remember when I use Templater. And what I mean when I say when I use Templater is, I use a shortcut key to bring it up, but you could use Command and P, and you could put in Templater. And in here, you want to open the next template. So replace, insert template. No, hang on, it's one of these, isn't it? It's one of those. That's one way to do it. I use a shortcut key, which is Command, Option and T. And that brings up that. So I need something in there that I'm going to remember. I could call it callout, but I call it X callout because I'm thinking of this as an extended callout. So we have that in there. although there's nothing in it yet, why when I do that is xCallout not showing? And this is a step that's easy to forget, but I need to move this file to the templater folder. So I'm moving it to the templater folder, which is inside my Obsidian folder, inside resources. So once I do that, if I bring this up, you can see xCallout is an option at the bottom. It's just by moving that into the correct folder that it makes it appear in here. Obviously at the moment won't do a thing because there's nothing in there. Right, this code looks horrific, but actually it's really neat. So let me show you this code. Right, it starts off with an angle bracket and percentage to tell it that code's on the way. And then it declares some constants for each note type. So each callout type, we have note, we have info, we have to do, we have tip. So these are all the different types of callout. The dot at the beginning, the emoji at the beginning, is to indicate the colour. So blue's okay. The globe has been used here because that's the nearest to the kind of aqua colour. That one's yellow. I swapped to this one. They had a dot for it, like a checkbox thing, a radio button. And I thought, well, why not just use that? Because a quote is grey, and that is actually dark grey. It might look like black, but it's not. It's dark grey. The example one is purple, the success is green, the warning is orange, and the failure, danger, and bug are all red. So that's what these icons are. You don't need those, but trust me, they look great when you run this. Right, the rest of this, so we have this block of code here, and another block underneath, and then the final bit. What this is going to do, it's actually going to prompt us to make a selection from a drop-down list, which is this one up here. Then it's going to let us choose a title, and it's going to let us choose whether it's expanded or whether it's not expanded, or whether you just don't have that option. It's going to ask you for a title, and it's going to ask you for the content. In other words, this block of code is going to do absolutely everything you need to have wonderful callouts that you don't need to remember anything. Even better than that, as far as I'm concerned, is I mentioned to you that the info one that was blue, I use for see also. So because this is just a label, all of these are just labels, I was able to extend this by typing in see also. My meta one, which is the abstract, I've added at the end meta. So although meta and see also are not keywords, the keywords are not defined in that string of text. The keywords are at the beginning. And I can put whatever text I want here, which makes this brilliant. You can completely customize this to whatever words make sense to you. So what does it look like and how does it work? Right, let's go into here and get rid of that one. So this is still our MOC with 2 Dataview queries in it, and we're now going to add an element which is a call out that we can put whatever we want in it, but it's the easy way to do the call out that's the thing. So I'm going to bring up the templater options with, in my case, Command T, and there is X call out at the bottom, so you can either move down to it or you can start typing it. So X to me means extended. It's something that, it's probably a feature that I've extended. And here we go. So we're not even in the note at this point. What we're doing is choosing the type of call out we want. And that, what you're seeing in there, is the list that we have over here in the text. So there's my see also, and there's my meta. So we'll have an on fire tip here, I think. Should we go for that one? Choose that one. Then I need to choose, how do you want it to fold? No folding, do you want it expanded, do you want it collapsed? Now the difference between those, you've seen what collapse now does. It gives you a disclosure triangle and you can fold it up, but it starts life collapsed. That is really great if what you're putting in it is test questions for yourself. You put the question as the title and the answer in the collapsed callout. You can have it expanded. What's the difference between expanded and none? Well, expanded is, as the name implies, it's expanded. The content that is in the disclosure triangle is expanded. But you can collapse it if you want, and that's the difference with none. None, you can't collapse it, you can't expand it. It's just, there's nothing there. So we'll have this collapsed. Then it wants title. So this is the bit that's going to be at the very top in bold next to the icon. So just so we know, I'll say title of callout. Pressing enter there takes you into another dialog box, and this time this is the actual content of it. So in this dialog box, keep the content of the note. Well, actually, no, if we're going to be precise, a call out. Right, you can shift and enter to add another line. So there's another line, and we can do that for yet another line. When you're done, you can either hit submit or press enter without the shift key. And that will put that content in your note. Now, obviously, you can see it at the moment because we're actually still in edit mode in that block. But you can see that you've got the word tip and you've got the minus sign, which is the code to make this collapsible. In fact, collapsed. So moving out of there, you can see that, yes, you can see the title of the call out. And if you open that up there, you can see the text inside it. You can, in here, if you want to, have this where you have bullet points. If you want bullet points, you can format it. So if we, oh dear, we don't want that. Go away. Right. That's it. Right. Content of the call out. So if I take that, I could make that bold. I could also make that italic if I wanted. And I could probably make it highlighted as well. All of that in there. So as I click away, it's hidden. But as I go up to there and I open it, there is the content. So be this actual content that you have dragged and dropped, words that you have typed, or a Dataview query. The beauty of this is the ability to that one. We open folded up. It was collapsed when we started. If we go back in and we do that again, so bring up templater, down to X callout, choose a different one. Let's choose an orange one. If this time we say expanded, so down to the second one, second callout, more text. Oh, that was, I meant text inside the call out. Right, let's do that. This time, instead of a minus, you can see we've got a plus sign. When we move out of that, you can see all of the text. Anything that is inside there, you can see it. But you are able to collapse it if you choose. The difference with the third one, so let's get the third one. We'll have that as an example, which will be purple. Right, we want this one to have none. Our title is example. And I'll spell it right this time. Text inside the callout. And we'll have more of that like that. This time there is no minus, there is no plus. And the difference is you cannot fold that up. These can be folded or not. Now, if I leave this one folded, but I expand that one, and then I move to another page. So let's go off to Ventura. And I move back. You will see the one that was collapsed will now be collapsed. This one that was expanded will be expanded. And this one's expanded because you didn't tell it whether you wanted it collapsed or expanded. So those are the different options you have for viewing the content inside the callout. But the beauty of this is that it's all inside Obsidian. So with it using the templater to do it, I haven't tested it on mobile, but fingers crossed it should work on mobile. It's just templater code. It's advanced templater code, but it's just templater code. So what I'll do with that is I will zip that up as a markdown file, and all you will need to do with it is to put it in your templater folder, call it whatever you like, and you will be able to generate these callouts here. which to me is a great way of having an MOC where you're not overwhelmed by the contents, because that's one of the problems I find with an MOC. If I've got this map of content and it's all to do with data merge in Affinity Publisher, that's going to be quite long. There's going to be a lot of things. So for me, what a real one of these would look like, go in here, I would choose the X callout, I would choose See Also. I would probably have that collapse to start with. My title would be Data Merge Demos. And then in there, I would have my demos. So these would be links to either notes inside Obsidian or links out to YouTube videos. And I would just have an entire list of demos in there. Probably because I've done so many, there would be maybe 20 in there. That's why I don't want to sit and stare at them. And once I've done that and I go in there, I've got access to my data merge demos, but I'm not being overwhelmed by a list in here of hundreds of them. I can just fold that up, and by default it is folded up as well. So the code looks horrific, but you don't need to edit it. If you would like to change the icons, like I've done, I changed that one, I think, to black, and add different text just to remind you of things that you use it for. It's very hard to go wrong. Just make sure that it's green. Don't put the text out here because you're the wrong side of the comma, and that is the single quote that is terminating the text line. So just make sure it's inside there as well. And that's a game changer. That is a huge game changer. And hopefully you're now seeing that all of the things, because I think this is week 15, we've been going a while, but you can see how things can then pull together. So once you've understood what a call out is and how they work and you'd like to use them, you can then link that in with Templater, not having to rely on a third-party app like I was doing. Although I'm very proud of the code that I wrote in Typinator, but it's better to have these things inside Obsidian. And that code isn't actually that complicated to do that. So kudos to the guy that wrote that. I will put a link to, I think it was on GitHub. I will put a link in the description so you can go and get that yourself. I'll also put my version in there because I did change the icons. So, do we have any questions on that?
Only one. From Carol, can you use AI in Obsidian?
You can, yes, but because there was actually an interview with the CEO earlier in the week, and he made the point that they have made a decision to deliberately not do that because they live on the fact that your Obsidian notes are personal to you. And they didn't want to add in AI directly and give AI access to all of your notes. Some people aren't going to want that. So they've steered away from that. But because of the community plugin structure that we've got, you can get plugins that you can plug in, and then you would need to use an OpenAI API key. So if you've got a ChatGPT account, you would need to log into your account, and somewhere in the account there, you can get an API key. And you can do it that way. But that is potentially opening up your notes to transferring them over the internet that you might not want to do. Another way to do it that I wouldn't like to say it would be as accurate as if it had access to all of your notes. But as Carol's just mentioned, she's got access to Raycast AI. Raycast, you can ask it, you can be in Obsidian, you can activate the AI in it, you can ask it a question, and when it comes back with the answer, you can just press a button and it will paste it into Obsidian. So that's possibly a safer way of doing it, maybe. But not directly at the moment. One of the things that Evernote are talking about is adding AI natively. So if you're in a meeting and you've made some notes and you've got a few spelling mistakes and the headings aren't right and stuff because you're trying to capture more than you're trying to get 100% perfect formatting, you'll be able to activate the AI and say, tidy my notes up. I'm not sure I'd want that, but that's what's coming. What are you thinking specifically of doing with it, Carol? Are you thinking of asking it for like titles for something, or to write an atomic essay and it automatically appear in Obsidian?
She said it sounds complicated.
Setting it up with the API, all it is, I mean, this is exactly what we did when we set it up to shorten URLs. We had Raycast and we hooked it up to Bitly. So all you need to do is get this API key. An API key is like a long string of letters and you just need to paste it into the box. So it's not as complicated as it sounds, but I don't think it would be as integrated. I actually like the fact, I've got AI in Notion. And I've got AI in Craft, and we use ChatGPT. The one in Notion does read your notes in. So if you have a database, we were playing around with this, weren't we? And I just said, I was on a MacBites page, and I said, I'll just throw it at the bottom of this page. And I asked it for something, and it was clear from the result that it had read the page. And I'm like, whoa. I think I was playing around with the title, wasn't I, for MacBites? And it was clear that it had read the page, and I wasn't expecting that. Now, obviously, if I asked Raycast AI to do the same thing, it would not have had access. It would have been kind of sandboxed to itself. So I would have had to have given it more information for it to be accurate. It depends how concerned you are about it reading your notes. In Notion, it definitely reads the notes, which can be great. You know, if you're looking for a summary, was that it? Was it a show summary I asked for? And it was that accurate. Yeah. I thought, well, put it like this. Let me show you. Have I still got that there? Where's Vivaldi gone? I do, luckily. Right, so I bring this on here. There. You can see that this is the running order for the week. All right. I had a running order like that, and I asked it to build a summary. And it came up with something I'd forgotten was in the show. So it must have been inside one of these things, and it had read it, and I'd forgotten. So if I was doing the summary of it, it wouldn't have been included because I've forgotten I did it. But the AI didn't. It just popped up at the bottom. So I think it really depends how you are. I don't mind friction. If it's not right the first time, if it's not accurate, I don't mind that, because I'm going to change the prompt to try and get the best out of it and get it to stop and ask me things and then prompt me for something else. So I don't think... it would be handy to be able to paste it into Obsidian, but the only stuff that goes in Obsidian for me is stuff I've written. So I wouldn't paste the AI in there either. I have built something for the AI, but I built it in Notion. So I wouldn't just wholesale copy and paste stuff from AI into Obsidian, because that's not my words. And what I need in Obsidian is everything to be my words, so I can just copy it out and paste it somewhere. And no, there's no plagiarism involved. I did not capture that from somewhere. I wrote it. But I know a lot of people link it in with Readwise. I tried that and it worked great. And I couldn't be doing with it because I'm like, did I write that? No, hang on, that's a note from a book. So I deleted all the stuff from Readwise out of Obsidian, and Obsidian, Readwise connects with Evernote, Old Faithful, and Notion. And I think I hooked it up with a Notion table. I can show you that if you're interested in the AI side of it. It was titles. Yeah, if you're going to use the title, then the title becomes yours. So you could ask Raycast to do that, and then when it does it, you know, you're having the conversation inside Raycast. So Raycast is open, and you're having the conversation with it. When you get the title you want, you can either Command and K, and then it will show you what options you've got. But I think the default, there's a default key that will just, and it actually says paste into. And the app that's listed after the paste into was the app that you had active when you went into Raycast. So it knows that you're in this app and you've gone to Raycast AI to ask it something, and it knows that when you use the paste option, that's where you want it. So for stuff like that, the Raycast one might be the best option. Right, do we have anything else? Or is that it?
No more questions.
Oh, okay. Let's head back into there then. What do we have coming up? We are back next week. 12th of May. Not a bank holiday, is it?
No.
It's a bit off. Is the 5 Mondays in May? And only 3 of them are bank holidays, not on that. Anyway, on demand, we have everything that we do, which is youtube.com/Elaine Giles. We have a MacBites After Hours playlist. One of our shows has gone viral, hasn't it? Might notice this more than I did. But if you look at the views for the shows, that says 5,000 views. What does it say now, Mike? Go and have a look. You will find the playlist at MacBites. No, macbites.co.uk/afterhours playlist. And tell us what the views are. There's now 193 videos on there. So there would have been another 80 videos anyway. But are we more than 5,000 views on the entire playlist now, Mike? Oh, look at him typing it in. His eyes are all over. It should be on the left underneath MacBites After Hours.
193 videos.
No, not the number of videos. The views. Are the views not on there? Oh, they've cheated. Maybe only I see the views. Well, there's more than that now. But that's where you get it. You guys, if you love us, give us a like, because it really helps with YouTube. You could also subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you won't miss anything. I did say, didn't I, that I'd got some sessions coming up. And I do when I organise myself. I organise them in Obsidian and then share them with you from there. But you can get on my mailing list with elainegiles.com/VIP. All of the MacBites content is available via macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail. And in between the shows, we carry on the conversation in Slack. If you would like to join us and are not already a member, you need to go to macbites.co.uk/join Slack or use the QR code. If you are a member and you've forgotten how to get in, you just need to go to macbites.co.uk/Slack. And that is where you find us, as I say, between shows. And you can contact us there, although you're not on Twitter much, are you?
Occasionally.
Do you know I've got Twitter down to a fine art now? Now, what's his name? I call him Elon, but I think it's Elon. Elon Musk, yes. Do you know, a lot of people were retweeting him, so I muted him. And now, when somebody retweets him, I get a little message that says, you muted this person. Loving that. So Twitter's much improved. I think I also, ages ago, this must have been, 2016, 2015, 2016. Do you remember when the presidential thing was on and everyone was going crazy over Trump? And it reached, once he got the nomination, it reached proportions I couldn't deal with. I blocked the word Trump. So now I only see like half conversations and never unblocked it. Yeah, Twitter could be better, couldn't it? Let's just put it like that.
Carol says, can you remind her how to do that in Raycast?
Yeah, I can do that. Let's get out of there.
I presume you know what she's talking about.
I'm presuming she means put AI content in there. I haven't done it since I demoed it, so this should be fun. Was it Ask AI we needed to do? There's the AI. Right, Ask AI. Oh, that's changed. Okay, never mind. Right, I'll share my screen and find out because it's changed. But never mind, we'll do it anyway. Right, so you're after something like titles for things. So, first of all, I'm in Obsidian underneath the data merge thing down there. So that's where I am at the moment. That's probably where I would want it pasted. So in my case, it's Command and Spacebar, but whatever, to talk to the AI. And then you type in Ask AI and then press Enter. That didn't bring up that window before, but it is doing now, so never mind. That actually does now look like ChatGPT, doesn't it? But this is where you can ask it something. So, a bedtime story. No, we don't want that, do we? What we want is write 10 titles for a short article about, shall we say photographing birds? Photographing birds. How about in your garden? In your own garden. Make the titles compelling. Right, let's come up with. Here we go. Oh, there you go. Unlocking the secrets of garden bird photography. Do you know, every time I look at these titles, I'm like, I'd really like to read that article. You could probably get it to write more than that, but there you go. That's the stuff. So, submit is enter, but we do have Command and K. So if I go to Command and K, you can see that the option, which is the default, is Command and enter. And what that will do is it won't take the question, but it will take the response. Your other option, if you don't want it in there, is to copy the response to the clipboard. Or the third option is to copy the whole chat. So in this case, I think we'd want the response pasted into Obsidian. So I'll do that, and it goes in there behind me. Right, which one do we fancy here? Oh, you don't want anything that says the joy of, do you? Because that reminds you of the book. Right, that top one's not actually bad, is it? Let's see what it can do. Can you expand number 1 into a, let's say, 300 word article? Let's see how well it does with that. There you go. 300 words based on the first title. Your garden is a haven for birds. There you go. Am I going to see this on Twitter, Carol, next week? Right, so it's written it. I'm not going to go into Command and K now. I'm just going to use the shortcut, which is not enter, because that's submit. I'm going to use Command and enter, and it should put that in there behind us. That could be why I open that to the side. So here we can see it in there. There we go. I do wish it would write in English and put a U in words, but there it is. So this actually becomes an interface that's very similar to ChatGPT. You can even see up here that it's keeping a chat history, so you can go back to this. So you could come out of it and create another one, or you could take another one of these. That's not a bad title, is it? Capturing the beauty of birds in your own backyard. Very American, but it would do. So please expand title to, and we'll say 400 word article. There we go. See what we get with that. There we go. You could be here all day with this, couldn't you? I don't know how good this is. I mean, it could be complete garbage. How's it looking, Carol? Choose the right equipment. That's legit. Best angles, that's legit. Natural light, well, that depends what light you've got. Be patient. That was me with that panda. I sat there for 4 hours with that panda, and I had a 36 exposure film, and I used every inch of it on my panda. I've still got those pictures today. Do you know the camera I had back then, obviously using film? The quality was amazing. It took years for digital to catch up. But how are they, Carol? Let me have a look at that. Good night, Peter. And are we moving? Are we moving? Let me know, Carol. Let me know. Right, and we'll switch back over here. Right, so last call for questions before we head off. I'm definitely wanting some ice cream.
No, but the good news is that I embedded my image in a new Excel file.
So you turned it off and on again.
Yes.
Excellent, as predicted. Yes, Carol likes that. Yeah, I would try Raycast while it's free. I don't know what their charges are going to be. But, you know, it has the benefit that it can automatically be pasted somewhere. Whereas the ChatGPT, you know, it's a manual thing. I mean, it's not too bad because there is a copy button next to it. So you only have to copy and paste it in. As I say, if I'd done something like that, I wouldn't paste that into Obsidian, but that's just me. That is just me. Oh, Kim's enjoyed that. Thank you so much. Wonderful. And I'm loving the hearty emojis further up. I'm taking it that was for the call-outs. The call-outs are fabulous, fabulous. I had another thing that I discovered there. What happened was, this is how it happens. I've got a Medium subscription because you can only read so many articles for free and I can't be doing with it. So I've got this Medium subscription, and a lot of the stuff on there is not great. But when you get a great article, it is stunning. And there was this article, and I liked the title, so I thought, read it later. And I did actually go and I read it later, and I'm reading it with like, oh, wow. Wow, it can do that. So it was a great, great article. But then I went even further down the rabbit hole, which was, like the call out one. I thought, how is it doing this? Why is it in lowercase? Can I make it uppercase? Can I change that icon? Can I put some text in? It was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So I will get the link to the GitHub thing, but I'll give you mine as well because I changed it. But that to me was like a game changer. I love call outs, but half the time, if I don't put the call out in the template, it's like, oh, I've got to create the call out. And then I've got to remember which is which. And then it's like, that's not the right colour or that's not the right icon. I wish there was an easier way to do that natively, but once you've got that, you don't need it. So that had to be find of the week. Find of the week there. Right, okay then. If we are all done with Q&As and everything else, we will wrap up. So it's good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.